For your first solve, what you did was you saw this orange edge already in place, this green and blue edge, and the red edge attached to to its correct center. So what you did was an L prime, R, F2, you rotated, did an M2, U2, and M2. So I think this solution was pretty okay. Instead, holding it from this angle, or this angle, will be a little bit better, where you can do both the L prime and R moves at the same time with like an F prime and a B, and then just do an R2 here. And for this, when the two edges are incorrectly swapped, you can do a kind of 4x4 parity trick. I'll link Felix's video. I explained this in the previous critique. I'll link in the card up there. But I think this is a pretty useful technique. After a Y2 rotation, you saw this pair here, and what you did to solve it was you took it out, you rotated over, then inserted it like this. I think a better solution, since you were already here at this with this in the back, is you take it out with your left hand, L, U prime, L prime, U, and then you do a simple back insert such as L, F, U prime, U, F prime, L prime. So that solves it into the back a little bit nicer, and that doesn't require any rotations. What you saw next is when you rotated back over here, and you saw this blue and red edge with the edge corner with the edge already in its correct slot. So what you did was you took it and then did triple sexy, and then leave it without the last U. So that solves it. Usually a more preferable way to do this is doing inverse sexies, as then that allows you to have a solved pair where, for instance, if it was the last slot, you can do a lot more things with a solved pair than you can with a separated one. Another interesting trick you could do is you can use this edge and this corner to solve as if it was its own pair by multi-slotting with keyhole. So what you can do is you do a D prime to bring this corner here, which belongs to this slot, bring it here, and you can use this edge and this corner and solve it like it's a regular pair. D prime, F, U, R, U prime, R prime, F prime to pair it up, insert, and then a D to solve the two pairs, which is a nice multi-slotting trick. Afterwards you did the red and green, and I think the solution itself was pretty fine. However, I would have gone and done this pair first, as the corner was already in the slot. So what you did to solve the green and red was this, U, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, which brings it up, so you can pair it. You paired it up and then just inserted it. A better way you could have done this is if you were to rotate back this way, pair it up as if you would usually, using this slot, which has got the corner here, and then just insert into the back. And then that leaves you with the last pair in your front right slot. That can be a little hard to see sometimes, however, it's something that is quite useful to develop, using other unsolved slots to solve a different pair. Finally, after a bit of hesitation, you rotated back over, after a bit of hesitation, and then you paired it up like so. I think a nicer way to solve this pair that doesn't require any rotations is when you have the corner here and the edge here, is you bring the edge back over here, do R, U, R prime, U prime, then just do F moves to solve the pair. Finally you had the OLL, so that was pretty standard, and then you had an A perm. So for your second solve, you did quite a funky yellow cross with some rotations, and I think I reconstructed it, so the proper recon's in the description, but I'll just suggest a better cross for this one. So for yellow cross, what you can do is you have the blue edge here, these two edges in the top layer, and then this unoriented, this flipped red edge. So what you can do is you hold it here with the red on front, do an L2, F, U prime, F, R prime, D prime. Does require some regrips, but I think that's one of the better crosses on yellow. I think there were some better solutions on white, so I'd recommend having a look around and seeing what you can find on white as well. Your first pair was pretty rudimentary, where you saw these two. You rotated and then just did this into the back, where you did an R, U2, R2, U prime, R. So that was a pretty fine solution. And then next what you did was the green and red pair. So what you did was you rotated over and then inserted this one into the back. So the way you paired this up was pretty okay. You did a U2, R prime, U2, R, which pairs it up. Then you just insert into the back, so that was fine. Next pair, after a bit of hesitation, you spotted here. You did a U prime, rotated, then inserted into the back. Finally, for your last pair, you saw this yellow edge, did a U2, paired it up like so, and inserted into the front. A nicer way to do this case, instead of having to rotate, you can do this from this angle, with the blue on front. You do an R prime, D prime, then you can bring this corner into the slot just by doing R, U prime, R prime, pairs it up, D and R. So that's a quick, easy solution. That solution can be executed pretty fast as well. Afterwards you had your OLL, where you did OLL, then you had a Z prime. Your third solve had a pretty hard to miss good yellow cross, so these two were already solved. You did a D prime, R prime, D prime, L, D2. Actually, I think this solution was actually pretty good, considering the pieces were in the blue edge was in attached to the wrong center, and you just did some D moves to solve it, so that was pretty fine. So for your first pair, what you saw was this blue and red edge, and the corner up in the back. So what you did was you paired it up, rotated, and then inserted it. I think a better solution would be using one of those back inserts, which I covered in my last critique, where you do a R, U prime, R prime, U, and then you insert into the back. So for your next pair, what you did was you did a Y prime, U prime, and then a Y prime again, and then you saw this pair, which you paired up with the double sexy, and then you inserted it into the correct slot after a rotation. Firstly, I think the best solution is if you didn't rotate, and this would have been a bit hard to see, but by elimination, what I can tell is that this is the yellow and green corner piece, and this is the edge, because on the cube there are no other visible pieces that are like that. And it's pretty hard to mistake this piece for a orange and green edge, and there are no other corner pieces that look quite similar. This one you may mistake, but it just takes a quick glance down to see what the corner is. So a way to pair this up and then insert into here would be L, U, prime, L prime, U, L, U prime, L prime, which pairs it up nicely. And then you can just rotate and insert it, or you can just do some F moves to insert it. I think F moves are nicer, because then it sets up to this next case here, which you can just insert into the back. What you saw afterwards was this red and green pair, where you took it out, R, U prime, R prime, and then did a U prime, rotate it, and insert it into the back. A way you can insert into the back from this case, where the pair is facing upwards with the sticker facing upwards, and you need to insert into a back slot, would be an L, F, U, F, and then kind of a wide R prime. So that solves the case. Finally, for your last pair, you seem pretty competent with your L moves, which is good, so you took this edge out, which paired up to this corner here, did a U prime, and then inserted it into the left. Finally, you did the OLL, and then you used the good F perm, which is good. For your fourth solve, what you did was a deep L F2, a Y2 rotation, U2 F2, which makes a nice pair at the start, but however, I think the cross solution kind of just cancels out how useful this pair is. Better solution would be doing a D, L, F2, U prime and D prime at the same time, which you can finger trick like this with your fourth or fifth, depending what you use for D prime moves, and then do a U prime at the same time, R2, and then just a D prime. So that requires 0 rotations, and even sets up to that nice first pair. However, for your first solve, you didn't see that first pair. Instead, you went ahead and did this pair which was in the slot incorrectly. So what you did was you took it out, R, U prime, R prime, U prime, and then you separated it, did a rotation, and then inserted it. Quick and easy way to solve this pair. So what you do is an L, F, L prime, U2, L, F, white R prime, which pairs it up, and then you can insert. This can be done quite quickly. Afterwards you rotated and you did the orange and blue pair, and you did the good solution for this case, F inverse sexy F prime, U, and then you did a UU, and then an insert into the back left. Finally, for your third pair, you did a U prime and saw this one. You rotated, R, U prime, R2, U, R, which is a pretty good solution. And then you finally finished with a blue and red pair, R, U2, R prime, U prime, R, U, R prime. And finally did your OLL. After a bit of a U4 AUF, you saw the GC perm, which you can recognize with the block here, the two same matching colors, and these headlights facing outwards. However, I'd recommend you switch to an ALG where it's R, which starts with an R2 F2. I think this can be finger tricked a lot faster than R2 U R U R U R prime U R2 D U. A lot faster than that. As long as you do U2s for this algorithm, this ALG can be a lot faster. For your fifth and final solve, what you did was an F, L, FF, then you did a Y prime, a D2, R prime, and then a D. Solution would be F prime, D2, R prime, F prime, D prime, which requires 0 rotations and sets up to this nice first case here. So what you did was you saw this blue edge here and this edge here. You rotated, took it out, paired it up, and then inserted it into the back. Personally, I don't think there are any good solutions for that specific case, having that edge already in the back slot here and the corner in another slot. I would have personally gone for these two, which would have taken this edge out, where you can do an R prime, D prime, F, which solves it here, and then a D, R, which takes this out, puts the blue on top, which you can solve like so. What you did next was the green and orange pair, which was pretty standard, except for a UU, where you paired it up, UU, and then inserted it here. After a bit of hesitation, you saw these two, went over to its slot, paired it up, then inserted it. I think a better way to solve this case is you use this slot and then insert into the back. So what you can do is a Y prime, pair it up, R prime, which pairs it up, and then insert it into the back, which leaves you with a nice final case. Due to having solved in the front, what you had to do was a Y2 rotation to find the final, to use the final slot for F2L. Then you just did the R, U, R prime, U prime, and then insert. And then you had your OLL after a bit of hesitation. And then you had a good old G perm. Okay, so my recommendations are, first of all, just being kind of more aware to how pieces are being affected by other pieces, especially in F2L, and being able to influence other cases and use unsolved slots. I'm sure you've seen in the examples, you could have used some unsolved slots to make to reduce the rotations in your solves. I think there are some advanced cases, quote-unquote advanced cases you could learn, such as those ones where you have the piece already inserted, such as this one as well. I'll link Ubercuber's ALG video on that because I think it's pretty good, and I think his video summarizes some of the more advanced ones as well. I think you could perhaps look at some more example solves. I've got a link to 25 example solves in the cards in the top right, where I've done 25 example solves, and having a look at other people's cross solutions and trying to make them more efficient will be important. I think for the majority of your cases, for your F2L cases, they're pretty okay. However, just using other slots and being more piece aware to other cases will be important here on out. Slowly look ahead will be important if you're wanting to break maybe the sub 12, sub 10 barriers, especially sub 10. You seem to know all full last layer, which is pretty good. Especially, I didn't learn last layer until maybe sub 13. I didn't learn full last layer until maybe sub 13. So good on you. And just reducing unnecessary rotations, especially during F2L and across, where they're just kind of unnecessary, and other solutions can remedy that. Oh, and finally, maybe trying to learn to do U2 flicks and U2 flicks and just flicks in general like this, especially for that G perm that I recommended, the GC perm that I recommended here. It's only viable if you really do U2 and F2 flicks. So yeah, good job. Thanks for submitting the average of 5, and if you want to submit an average of 5 yourself, there's a link in the description. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a good day.